a sign or even be presented to them. And secondly, I think it's important to note that this is specifically targeting town employees and their benefits package for which they are not necessarily responsible. It's not their fault that health insurance premiums have gone through the roof. It's not their fault that the legislature hasn't addressed it appropriately. It's not their fault that health care coverages have gone through the roof and that the federal government hasn't addressed it appropriately. And they're the only ones that are be adversely impacted and are being targeted. And you know, I think the solution isn't this. And I think we're unfairly targeting public employees. I think we're unfairly targeting and undoing, or attempting to undo, the collective bargaining laws, which is not a good thing. And I think it's an unfortunate proposal that's being put forth. And I would strongly suggest that the members, you know, search your conscience a little bit more before you go and support it. And I understand you're trying to make a statement, but
Well, we have $500,000. We need to figure out how we're gonna pay for it. $500,000 increase in our medical bills, okay? I mean, I agree with you. The
but
employees
this isn't
didn't
gonna
ask for
solve it. This
But the
isn't
taxpayers in this town
But this isn't
can.
gonna solve it.
No?
This isn't gonna solve your $500,000 problem.
but
This isn't gonna,
Collective bargaining
this
is
isn't-
neither. Would you agree or disagree?
no, I disagree. I think collective bargaining can help solve the problem and has already.
Okay.
That's already, over the previous fiscal year. So, again, this isn't gonna solve our economic problem. It's not gonna solve the $500,000 problem, increase in premiums. This isn't even gonna be acted on in time for us to address the issue. They've got 2 years, once you file it, to consider it. They might not take it up for 18 months. You know, so it's,
No.
I don't think it's the appropriate way
Well,
to address the situation.
on
And
the-
I would suggest that
Sorry.
the board take a strong look at if this is really the way that the approach we want to take. But particularly in light of, you know, we're entering into negotiations with our collective bargaining units, and you're setting the tone right off the bat, blaming them for something that they're not responsible for.
Well,
And then
Steve-
removing from the table.
Steve,
What you're looking to do is remove it from the,
I mean, I understand,
To
I
negotiate.
understand your concerns, and if you don't ask, you can't get. And I think it's very important that we approach the state on this home rule petition and ask them to open their eyes, look at what's happening, and give the towns the opportunity to make their own decisions. It's vital to us. And there's a lot of money out there that's costing the taxpayer an awful lot of money. It's not the taxpayer's fault that these decisions were made either. So you have 2 groups of people that are impacted on this. And when you think about it, you know, in a layman's terms, you know, when you go to the store and you buy something, you decide what you're going to pay. And we have to, as a town, as a body, we have to decide what we can afford to pay and do the best we can. This petition does not mean that, you know, my support of this does not mean that I would vote any specific way. It just means I like to have the decision in my hands to determine which direction we should go.
but what's being proposed here is to scrap the collective bargaining laws in total. Collective bargaining laws that were established to protect the public employees from the political whims of a political body. And the annual changes on this particular body, if we're gonna be the negotiating body, from those types of events. And what you're doing here with this is proposing to scrap all of that and, you know, subject them to the whims of the board on an annual basis.
It doesn't make it necessarily a bad thing. The economy and its environment changes year to year, and we have to be flexible to be able to do that. And if we don't, as we have right now, we're in a situation where the state, you know, is supposed to protect us from our whims. When we wound up with an environment created by the state, that the state's whims has impacted us dramatically. So
those are our elected representatives that we sent there that created the situation. And what we're doing now is we're looking to scrap, years of rights, of public employees' rights. And again, the public employees are not paid the same level as private enterprise and private employees. And what they do have is they have a little richer benefits packages in order to compensate for that, which is what they've negotiated in good faith. What you're looking to do is throw that out the window, one fell swoop. With this proposed
But we
legislation, which
can't-
isn't
we
gonna
can't be
happen,
held
by the way,
prisoner
which
of
isn't gonna
this.
happen.
And we can't
It's
be held
unfair to say
prisoner of
it's
this
gonna
all the
hurt.
time.
It's unfair to say it's gonna hurt the
You're
employees.
taking away,
This could help them.
you're taking away the seat
This
at the
could
table.
help them. We could
Oh,
actually
you-
save them money. We will actually save them money.
I just got a bill.
Every $100 we save, they save 30. Steve.
Look, we're just spinning our
You're
wheels
lying.
here, okay?
It's wrong. You
I'm
shouldn't
not
do
lying,
that.
it's far
You
from
are.
lying, no, you just don't understand the process, what's gone into it, what the system has.
$500,000, Steve.
It's not gonna save you a
$500,000.
dime.
Well, neither
This
is
doesn't
collective
save
bargaining.
you a dime.
No.
Collective bargaining has saved this money. They have sat down and negotiated in good faith.
I-
They have compromised, just last
Saved
year.
us money, I understand the issue of collective bargaining. This intent is to send a message, to shake, and to change the scale a little bit. It's way out of balance. When our hands are tied associated with dealing with the health insurance. The state employees have lost certain rights associated with it. On the municipal side, we're being treated differently, and not only are we being treated differently, but if we wanted to get into adopt a chapter on collective bargaining, whatever they call that, right? We have to deal with the 70-30.
Right.
It isn't fair. That part is not fair.
That's a
And by the
V.
way, this doesn't take away all collective bargaining. This is on the health insurance
That's it.
only.
Just one thing.
It's on one thing.
Oh, just one thing,
It's on one thing,
just one thing.
okay? Now, I clearly, get your point, and I'm kind of on your side associated with it. But no one's listening. Nobody in the legislature is listening. And I think enough people have to, raise the roof to get them to think about what they're going. They did nothing. And the few things that they passed are a big joke.
No, I'm not disagreeing.
So,
I'm not disagreeing that the legislature has failed to address the issue properly.
So I'm sending a message, knowing full well that I'm willing to sit down at the table and negotiate with our employees, right? All I want is a little leverage so that it isn't so one-sided.
But this isn't gonna get it.
We are not in a situation where we have something to give every
Right.
year, right? It's take-back time, and you've faced it yourself.
I'm sure I faced it.
And we're faced with
I
a
sure
half
say
a
that. I
million
faced it,
dollars.
And I faced it, for the most part, over the collective bargaining table. I faced it. And we negotiated out, we gave back, we furloughed, we gave back money out of pocket. My salary was reduced by furloughs in order to save jobs, in order to save positions. But we tied that to those things. And we had the opportunity to sit at the table and do it, and
We-
this is taking that away in relation to this benefit, and that's wrong.
We haven't been able to get our unions
We
to
can't
do
even
what
get
your
this-
union did, okay? We, I believe, as a board, have an obligation to our taxpayers to bring this forward. As far as I'm concerned, that's our ultimate responsibility.
Right.
The taxpayers are those that pay the salaries of our municipal employees. I think that's our greatest obligation, is to them. And we're doing it on behalf of them.
And they could save money.
Things are out of
Or help
bounds.
them.
The pendulum has swung too far in favor of collective bargaining, in my opinion. This is to bring it back in line so we can operate this town and do a service to our taxpayers, providing them service as they have had over the last 10 to 20 years.
And
I think
balancing-
this
balancing it on
board
the
has
way
got,
The reason we have this deficit, and the reason we have these fiscal problems, it's not because of health insurance, it's not because, in the current situation that we're facing here in this country, in this town, in this country, is not as a direct result of collective bargaining agreements. It's a direct result of Wall Street. What we're doing now
oh,
is.
Wrong.
But it
Steve,
is.
please,
What do you mean wrong?
please,
Why are we in this
please.
economic crisis? Because of
Please.
collective bargaining?
Collect-
Absolutely not.
It is-
No,
It's
take
not
a, take a
just a
look at,
conversation.
take a look at where we are with collective bargaining and
Why is there-
and
why
the
is-
benefits and
Why
the
are there
cost.
deficits at the federal level? Why are
The
there deficits
long-term
at the state
cost.
level? Why are there deficits here? It's not the collective bargaining
Steve.
Oh,
agreements.
please.
Now we're
Steve,
getting
health
into a,
Health
Never-
insurance in this town has gone up 222% in 10 years.
That's been across the
200
board.
Because we haven't
It's not
managed
this
it,
town.
right here,
Across the board.
right here.
no, because
been up-
across the board,
Across-
board,
But just this town
the
alone,
private sector has had to make adjustments.
absolutely.
And the premiums are still going up.
But they had to make
Exponentially.
adjustments. We had to make,
Huge.
pick options that saved my employees
Yeah,
money.
they've made
What's
adjustments
And
driving
the
it
accordingly.
company
is-
money.
is, you know, the cost of health, what's driving it is what the doctors are charging and the lack of controls on whether it be,
In the private sector, they're able to make changes and do it. Every business that there is out there has had to do it, and they've been able to do it. We haven't been able to do it, although we've tried, because our unions haven't bought into it. So the collective bargaining process, when it comes to this issue, has not worked. It has failed.
it's
And what they
because-
fail to
is it because the
recognize-
collective bargaining laws are wrong, or because we have been unable as a board collectively, whether it be this year or previous years, to get the necessary changes out of it?
I believe it's based upon the current structure, how it's set up, where we have to get the 70% of the buy-in.
No, that's just for the GIC.
That's ju-
That's just for the
No, I
GIC.
understand.
That's just for the GIC.
I understand.
No, we can negotiate and implement changes, and we have implemented changes.
But it's
in our
always,
health insurance
in that
plans.
effort, it's always been,
We can implement,
what are you
and they
gonna,
can- they
what do
can
you,
grieve it.
but you know, Steve, as well as I do.
Which is
it's,
what we've done.
What are you going to give us in exchange for that? And as the chairman has said,
We have
it's,
nothing to give.
there's nothing to give.
Nothing to give.
So that's why
And
change
what did they get?
and that's why the
What did they do
process,
last year?
and that's why
They
the
took
process.
0% increases and changed their health insurance plans in order to save on premiums, and took a 0% increase.
In order to
And they
save
said they didn't
jobs,
do
in our,
anything?
in our
And they
promise,
say they didn't do anything?
in our promise back
And then
was to
signed,
save
and in
jobs.
one, in the case of one union, signed an agreement and then turn around and sue us.
Right,
Yeah,
So,
that was
don't-
the ancillary issue.
don't say
The
that,
ancillary issue that
I gotta go.
you
forced that one.
you can't say that
I have
the
to go.
collective bargaining process is
Anyway.
worked.
All right, we're not gonna get anywhere with this, so,
Well, we have the motion on the table.
motion on the table. All in favor of recommending, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Recommended 4-1, and we'll so note it. Adopt early retirement incentive program.
I would suggest that you not do it. It's not advantageous to the town, I've looked at it. It's not, the North Reading isn't structured to be
So
able
should
to
we
do this.
pass this over?
No, I would suggest you keep it on the warrant, because I think you should at least let people know that you've taken a look at it. You've taken a look at the option, but it doesn't make sense for us. From a financial standpoint, we typically replace our employees. We're not a large organization that we've got a lot of positions. There's constraints under the legislation that say that you can only replace 30% of the salary in the first year, 45% in the second year, and 60% in the third year. It just doesn't work for an organization like North Reading, where we typically want to replace our employees. It's not a program that's set up to help us.
Can we somehow do that by way of information at town meeting, as opposed to having this left on the warrant? What if it passes?
Right.
Even
No,
if
you
it
make 'em-
passes, we still have to implement.
First of all, it has to be, there's several steps. Number one, it has to be adopted by the chief executive. Number two, it has to be accepted by PERAC. And number three, it has to be adopted by town meeting. If it fails to meet any of those three standards, it doesn't fly. So this is one of those ones that you had to do it within 90 days of the legislation. You really had very little time to be able to react to it. So I say that there's no risk in leaving it on there, because without the other two requisite steps, it doesn't fly.
So can I get a motion not to recommend? Or to make a recommendation at town meeting? One or the other?
I would move not to recommend.
Motion by
I'll
Mr.
second that.
Delaney, seconded by Mr.
You.
Yule. I'm thinking, should I wait for Michael, or what's?
Probably.
Just went to the bathroom.
I'm gonna say Allison.
I'll wait.
Should have gave us proxy before he left.
Yeah.
I hate to go back to the beginning, but Article 1 and 2 two within motions?
Not on two, I don't think. Yeah, one and two.